There's nothing left in the pension fund. It's all gone. The conference room goes silent as Richard Langford, our Silvertongue CEO, drops the bomb, grinning like a man who's already cashed the check. My name is Tom Weller. I'm 58, salt and pepper, and until 10 seconds ago, I was the picture-perfect chief financial officer of Landmore Industries. 33 years, crunching the numbers. Late nights balanced against early meetings, every decimal in its proper cell. The pension plan was my pride. By January 5, 2025, we'd grown it to $312 million, enough for every machinist, clerk, and line supervisor to retire comfortably. Now Richard is telling the directors that market turbulence demands we freeze withdrawals indefinitely. The auditors blink. HR gasps. I stare at the slide red arrows, ominous italics, and realize he's stolen 20 years of trust in one PowerPoint frame. Everyone expects me to fold, to defend him, maybe to explain away the shortfall. Instead, I smile. Because the spreadsheets on my private laptop tell a very different story, and I've been waiting for the perfect moment to flip them open. It all began with a loose invoice that drifted across my desk during last April's mini-audit. A $12,000 consultancy fee, wired to a shell company in Georgetown, Cayman Islands. The memo line read, Project Jade Reserve. A name that had never appeared in any board minutes. Curious, I pulled the source account and felt my pulse jump. The debit came straight out of Retirement Holding B, a fund legally locked unless two directors signed a joint release. There were no signatures. Only Richard's executive override code, RLang 17. The next week, a courier delivered purchase documents for a Bombardier jet. Richard claimed it was leased to own for client demos, yet the monthly payments trace back to the same pension subaccount. A fortnight later, payroll flagged that the employer-matched transfer from May was labeled deferred. When I asked payroll manager Carol why, she shrugged and said Richard's office sent new instructions for liquidity. By June, I noticed that cash reserve reports in the shared drive kept vanishing. The IT log showed deletion by an admin alias created the same day Richard returned from Monaco. Every small anomaly on its own looked harmless, an impatient CEO making bold moves. But woven together, they formed the fraying edge of a noose. I tightened it, thread by thread, and waited. Across the next 4 months, I gather receipts like a dragon hoarding gold. First, I reconcile every bank statement against legacy backups hidden on my offline server. The gap balloons, $19.7 million unaccounted for by September 30. Second, I visit Human Resources after hours. Dan, the benefits clerk, confides that Richard ordered him to pause pension vesting while dangling a promotion. Dan's tremor-thin voice becomes my first recorded ally statement, captured on a pocket recorder with a timestamp. Third, I pull the dusty bylaws from the corporate library and discover Clause 12.6c. If pension funds fall below 80% solvency due to executive malfeasance, the board must vote within 30 days to restore or remove leadership, contingent upon an independent audit. Richard, in all his arrogance, never altered that safeguard. Finally, I call an old friend, Karen Felix, senior auditor, and my first hire back in 1999. Over black coffee in a diner booth, I slide a flash drive across the Formica and watch her eyebrows climb as the transfers scroll past. She whispers, Tom, this is RICO material. I answer, not yet. First, it's insurance. I draft a plan on a yellow legal pad, outlining the next 6 weeks down to the hour. The goal is surgical, force the board to trigger Clause 12.6c and lock Richard out before he can torch the evidence. My weapon is a 132-page forensic report, signed by Karen, notarized, and ready for the SEC. The timing must coincide with Landmore's annual gala on November 15, an event Richard treats like his personal coronation, televised to shareholders and streamed to 5 countries. During the gala setup, I'll leak a summarized version of the audit to the 3 most influential directors, each in a plain envelope slid under their hotel doors at 6 a.m. The full report goes to the Department of Labor at noon, hitting their servers the exact minute Richard steps on stage. Media embargoes break only after he finishes his keynote, giving him just enough rope to boast before the trapdoor opens. To ensure authenticity, every chart carries a watermark key to the pension fund's inception date, April 2, 1988, visible only under UV light. If Richard cries forgery, I'll flip the blacklight pen in my pocket, and the hidden dates will glow like radioactive breadcrumbs. Revenge isn't just cold, it's fluorescent. Gala night arrives drenched in crystal chandeliers and excess. The ballroom at the Fairmont is padded with deep purple carpet. Champagne flows as freely as gossip. I mingle near the dessert tower, tuxedo tight at the collar, watching Richard glide from donor to director with the confidence of a man whose sins have never met daylight. My watch reads 7:58 p.m., 2 minutes until my scheduled detonation. A vibration in my pocket, Karen's text. Dual acknowledgement received, green light. The keynote begins at 8 sharp. Richard ascends the stage, flanked by LED pillars showcasing stock price graphs, all trending conveniently upward. Cameras train on him. I slip out a side door and take the service elevator to the 12th floor boardroom, the only space not crawling with guests. Inside, the lights are low, the mahogany table stretching like a runway. I'm alone for about 20 seconds. Then the door swings open, and Richard strides in, jacket unbuttoned, tie loosened, a king seeking quiet between triumphs. His eyes narrow when he sees me. Tom, shouldn't you be downstairs clapping? I gesture to the head chair. Close the door, Richard. We need to talk about Clause 12.6c. He pauses, then laughs. You're waiving paperwork? Listen, the market's down, pensions take hits. We'll fix it. I slide a printed spreadsheet across the polished wood. Red numbers bleed across the page. You didn't fix it. You financed a yacht, a townhouse in Monaco, and a J-Series bombardier. All from accounts workers spent decades paying into. His smile hardens. Those transactions were authorized. Strategic reallocations. I lean back. Does the Labor Department think so? They receive Karen's audit at noon. The air between us crystallizes. Richard drops into the chair, elbows on the table, voice a serrated whisper. You think you're clever? You just nuked the stock. Thousands of employees will suffer. I keep my tone level. They were already suffering. They just didn't know it. Now we have a chance to fix it before payroll day. He stands abruptly, pacing. I'll call the board. Get ahead of this. They trust me. I fold my hands. 3 directors already hold sealed copies of the audit. They're likely reading them as we speak. Call them if you'd like. Better yet, wait. Each document emits a tracer ping the moment it's opened. IT is mapping those pings now. Digital chain of custody. For the first time, sweat beads on his forehead. He snarls. You've always been a tedious bean counter. Nobody rallies behind a spreadsheet. I inhale, steady. They rally behind truth, and I'm not alone. On cue, the side door clicks. Karen Felix steps in, followed by Dan from HR clutching an envelope like a shield. Dan's voice trembles, but he manages. Richard, you told me to erase contribution files. I kept copies. Richard spins, eyes flicking over them like targets. You idiots think you'll be heroes? You'll drown in legal fees. Karen sets a small UV flashlight on the table and clicks it. The watermarks on my spreadsheet blaze hot blue. Numbers don't drown, she says. They float. Richard's veneer cracks. He slams both palms onto the table. Fine. How much do you want to walk away? Name it. I rise, smooth my cufflinks. I already took payment and evidence. He tries again, softer, almost coaxing. Tom, think about your retirement. You've got, 7 years left? Don't throw it away on some crusade. I meet his gaze. You stole my colleagues' futures. Mine comes with interest. For several heartbeats, the only sound is the low hum of recessed lighting. Then Richard straightens, forces a chuckle, and reaches for the door. You're bluffing. The handle doesn't turn. Karen had slid a security bolt. Outside, muffled footsteps approach. The board's private security, summoned by motion sensors we triggered upon entering. Richard's eyes widen as a doorknob rattles from the other side. Protocol requires any locked executive room to be opened by 2 guards and a director. Through the frosted glass pane, we see silhouettes gathering. Richard backs away from the door like it's radioactive. Tom, open it. We can spin this. I stay still. In 30 seconds, they'll open it themselves. And when they do, read Clause 12.6c, subsection 4, the board must vote immediately if presented with evidence of executive fraud in a secure session. He lunges toward me, index finger stabbing the air. You think you won? I've buried men for less. Karen steps between us, metaphorically, I hope, because literal burial adds 20 years to the sentence. A faint smile tugs my lips. Even in chaos, Karen's gallows humor lands. The heavy key turns outside. The door swings wide, revealing 2 guards, 4 directors, and the outside counsel. Richard straightens his tie, mask back on. Before he can speak, Director Patel raises the envelope I'd slipped under his door, its seal broken. Richard, we need to discuss these findings. Now. Richard glances at me, rage, fear, disbelief swirling. I answer with a polite nod. As they escort him to the conference table, Dan leans close and whispers, Was that your icily polite comeback? I whisper back, Not yet. Wait for the minutes. Down the corridor, camera flashes pop. Word travels fast when a king's crown tilts. I exhale, feeling the weight of 33 years settle across my shoulders and lift. The showdown is over, but the cascade is just beginning. For one glorious heartbeat, I think the storm is calming until the first setback hits. Richard's attorneys file a temporary restraining order claiming I hacked confidential data. At 8:22 a.m., security escorts me from headquarters, my badge deactivated mid-swipe, my office door already sealed in yellow tape like a crime scene. Powerless, I watch through the lobby's glass wall as Landmore stock opens 27% down, shaving almost $800 million off market cap in 60 minutes. Phones explode. Retirees, people whose birthdays I still remember, call in tears, begging to know if their March payments will arrive. I can't log in, can't reassure them, can't even print a pay slip. This second domino arrives at noon when Orion Capital, our longtime rival, announces a hostile tender at $31 a share, barely half last quarter's valuation. If Orion wins, they'll liquidate divisions, freeze the pension permanently, and I'll have handed the company to a vulture. Locked out of every system, I drive to Karen's townhouse where the blinds are already drawn. We rig a hotspot, patch into my offline backups, and compile a shareholder contact list from personal emails, holiday cards, even wedding RSVPs I'd saved in a shoebox. At 3 p.m., we livestream an impromptu town hall from Karen's dining room, streaming to 200 institutional investors who'd never before seen a CFO in flannel sleeves. Richard is stalling, I tell them, my voice steadier than my pulse. But Clause 12.6c gives you power. Demand the vote. While we speak, Richard unleashes Setback 3. He triggers Golden Parachute Clause 7.5, wiring himself $22.4 million in severance to a Zurich branch of Banque Lumiere. A faction of directors freezes, terrified of litigation if they block it. Panic ricochets through the town hall chat. I pivot to Director Patel by phone, begging him to motion for an escrow freeze. He agrees, but only if a regulator backs him. At 2:47 p.m., 2 SEC agents carrying sealed subpoenas stride into Landmore's lobby. Richard's assistant insists the data servers were accidentally reformatted, but the agents already have my thumb drive image hashes. Chain of custody reestablished. They order an immediate asset preservation hold. Zurich receives the freeze notice 10 minutes before Richard's wire can clear. His parachute cords snap in midair. By dusk, tabloids spit half-truths. One headline snarls, "Whistleblower CFO only wants the throne," while talk. Radio callers label me traitor. My daughter texts, "Dad, are we safe?" And I almost break. Instead, I send her a photo of the UV-lit spreadsheet glowing cobalt and write, "The truth always shines, kiddo." Outside headquarters, 1,000 machinists march beneath the winter sky, hoisting cardboard coffins painted our retirement. I grab a megaphone, step onto a planter, and explain how every missing dollar will be clawed back. Their chant of, "Pay us back," rattles the glass facade where, I know, the board is watching. Share price clause back 8% before closing bell, enough to thwart Orion's lowball tender, for now. Delaware Chancery schedules an expedited hearing for November 18 to decide control of Landmore and the future of our pension. I spend the night in Karen's spare room drafting affidavits until sunrise stains the blinds bronze. The cascade slows, but the flood hasn't drained. It's just pooling behind courtroom doors. The Chancery courtroom in Wilmington feels carved from cold mahogany and older money than God. Reporters jam every pew. Richard arrives, flanked by 3 attorneys in identical charcoal suits. I enter with Karen, Dan, and an evidence cart that squeaks like a guilty conscience. Chancellor Owens, silver-haired and unamused, gavels us to order at precisely 9 a.m. Richard's counsel insists market volatility, not malfeasance, cause temporary liquidity reallocations. They call me disgruntled and wave a printout of the restraining order like a poisoned flag. My turn comes. I connect a projector and cast the UV tag spreadsheets onto a screen taller than the judge's bench. Numbers blaze nuclear blue. Gasps ripple. I narrate each misappropriation. $3.1 million to the jet lease on April 12. $6.7 million to Monaco real estate. May 30. $1.9 million to consultancies, with no tax IDs in July. Then the hinge of fate swings. Jennifer, Richard's longtime executive assistant, steps forward unannounced, clutching a single-use notebook phone company issued, never wiped. She testifies that Richard dictated override passcodes at 2:13 a.m. June 14, after returning from the Riviera, ordering her to delete pension deposit confirmations before Tom notices. Her voice quavers, but each syllable lands like iron. Richard bolts from his chair, shouting, "Perjury! She was fired for incompetence." The judge bangs once. "Sit down, Mr. Langford, or I'll have you removed." Richard sits, lips bloodless. After a recess, Chancellor Owens returns with a decision. His gravel-rich voice fills the chamber. This court finds clear and convincing evidence of willful misappropriation and breach of fiduciary duty. Effective immediately, Richard Langford is removed from any executive role at Landmore Industries. Control shall pass to an interim stewardship committee, chaired by Chief Financial Officer Thomas Weller. All diverted assets will be repatriated within 45 days under SEC supervision. A marshal steps forward, places a gentle but unyielding hand on Richard's shoulder. Flashbulbs strobe as he's guided out. 6 months later, May 15, 2026, I stand on the factory mezzanine watching retirees in blue coveralls pick up brand new pension debit cards. The fund, rebuilt through asset recovery and a $65 million insurer clawback, now sits at 106% solvency. Stock trades at $54. Orion Capital. They withdrew the tender and bought bonds instead. The machinists present me with a brass pocket protector engraved, "Our numbers guy." When the permanent CEO search committee offers me the throne, I decline. I've learned power's weight tastes a lot like Richard champagne, sweet going down, acidic later. Instead, I found the Pension Integrity Foundation, a watchdog that teaches smaller companies how to bulletproof retirements. Karen becomes Landmore's new CFO. Dan heads benefits, his jittery hands replaced by a grin wide enough to hold the sunrise. Some nights, alone in the study, I unfold that original yellow legal pad. The creases are deep, the ink smudged, but the plan still reads like sheet music to a hard-won symphony. I whisper the line that guided every step: document or donate your wallet to fate. Turns out the best retirement plan isn't a mutual fund or a 401k. It's a well-kept paper trail. Everything else is hush money in a silk envelope.